An exciting fireside chat here, guys, with Mr. Doug DeLuca, if you could join me upstage, and Angie Hill as well. Now, Doug is a co-executive producer for Jimmy Kimmel Live, and Angie is a senior director of audience marketing for Skype. Please welcome them to the stage.
Where are you sitting there?
I figured I'd sit here.
All right, so Doug, no, you can.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
Okay. Hello, everyone.
You guys want water or anything? You okay?
It's bright up.
Hey, okay?
I'm good. Quiet room.
I know.
It is a bit of a quiet room. I
Still
thought
waking up.
My whale joke was going to get them.
You were right, it was dated.
It was
a little dated,
and
yeah.
those who aren't from LA might not know what hump even is. So, but it was. I got it. I laughed back there, and I elbowed Angie. I said, "Good one."
He's on to something. He's hot.
We're trying to help him out here as much as we can.
That's right.
Well, I appreciate the support, guys.
No worries.
Hey, why don't you do us all a favor and tell us briefly about who you guys are and what you do,
Sure.
if you would.
Ladies first.
All right.
Yeah.
So hi, I'm general manager for marketing, go-to-market for Skype. So I pretty much manage everything that our user, our consumer experiences through Skype, whether that be broadcast, music, entertainment, our direct marketing when it comes to paid services through Skype, social, email. I mean, pretty much everything across the life cycle at Skype. Me and my team would manage globally.
Great. I'm a television producer by trade. I've been in the business now for pretty much almost 24 years. I'm a co-executive producer on Jimmy Kimmel Live, but along with that and being partners with Jimmy for the last 15 years, I have a very entrepreneurial spirit, and through that I've created a couple different enterprises. One was a mixed martial arts endeavor with CBS and Showtime. The other we're going to speak a bit about today, which is a digital comedy network called Jash. And some of my purview at Jimmy Kimmel, which is I think the main reason I'm here, is I look after all the branded content. Basically, I help build the division within the show, which is a little bit of a unique situation for TV shows, especially network television shows, but it's been very successful. I also have built our digital infrastructure in terms of our offabc.com sites and putting that together, and we still are driving that very, very hard. And then I do all the biz dev for the show, all the interesting partnerships and alliances. So that's sort of a little background on me, Donnie.
Perfect. Great. And this is an exciting dialogue for me, just so everyone kind of knows, because I feel like, for folks that spent their time in digital marketing, which is certainly where I've kind of cut my teeth, a lot of our solutions are grounded in data, right? And the exciting conversation that's occurring in video now is how to, how to enable a more authentic voice around content, how to tell a story that's going to be more engaging to an end consumer. Certainly we get a lot of exposure to that on the traditional linear side, and now getting more and more exposure on the digital side, which again opens up the door for additional opportunities. I think what the crowd here probably wants to get to, I would hope, at least, is like, hey, is this open game? Can everyone kind of play in this space, or is this limited to a handful of select brands that are kind of higher interest, or how does it work? So that's kind of the path we're going to try to go on if you guys are up for it.
We're game.
All right. Do you mind if we just take a quick look at a segment piece of work that these two folks did together? Very funny, very interesting piece.
If you watch our show regularly, from time to time we Skype with people in their homes and we have them race around to find things in it. Usually we do this with regular viewers. Last week we did it with NBA players. Tonight we're going to play with a singing group, and that singing group is One Direction. Join us now in Nashville, Tennessee. We will begin with Team HLZ, Harry, Liam, and Zane. Hey, fellas, how you doing? You look comfortable in Nashville. Do you like Nashville?
We like Nashville. It's nice.
How familiar are you with the items in your dressing room? All right, so this might not be the easiest, but your opponents tonight are the other members of your band, joining us now from their dressing room, located very close to yours. Team NL, Niall Lewis. 2 of you against 3. Do you consider this a disadvantage?
No.
Okay.
Not at all.
So you don't need to add a tambourine player to the band or something to help you out? Okay, very good. Gentlemen, shake virtual hands. It is time to play a special One Direction edition of the Skype scavenger hunt. This is a simple game. I'll ask you to find an item or complete a task. Your job is to get it or do it as quickly as you can. Are you ready? All right, let's begin.
Yeah.
Your first challenge is run to the bathroom, make a toothpaste mustache of yourself, and bonus point for goatee or beard or any other facial hair you want to add, okay? All right, and there they go. You want to add chest hair? Oh, wow, that was really fast. We're going to have to give this one to Niall and Louie. Very well done, very quickly done.
Didn't bring the camera back quick enough.
It looks like he went through...
Hey, I've got it on my clouds now. Come on, get out
It
now.
looks like he went through puberty in the land of the Smurfs.
By the way, we're just going to show snippets so we don't eat up all this time
Yeah.
with video. I think there are links on the Videonomics site if you want to see how that ended, or not.
Great, that's a great call.
Or maybe your children want to see how
or
it
maybe
ends,
your kids
actually.
wanna
Your
see
young
it.
girls would want to see how that ends.
Right. The first question, of course, for someone on the buying side at least, would be, where does the idea come from, right? So that seems like a natural fit. You could either, frankly, you could probably have that be a branded initiative or a non-branded initiative. It'd still be very popular. Who's responsible for coming up with some of the creative ideas here?
Yeah. Well, I think there's, as they say, not to be cliche, I think there's a lot of ways to skin a cat, and I think these ideas come about from different ways and different scenarios. I'll talk about this specific one, but I'll also talk about, I think just in general, because we spoke a bit before we came out about what most people here want to talk about or think about, and I think there's sometimes a reluctance to make the plunge into branded or talk to creative or talk to talent or whatever, and I think that's a big hurdle and one that just needs to be abolished and you need to kind of work through. I think everyone, at least they should be, I know our team is very open to all and any creative discussions, and I think a good open dialogue where nothing's off the table from discussing really fosters the best place to get content from. So in this particular situation, and the reason I wanted Angie here is because we're doing a lot with Skype, and we did a year-long deal with them around this, and we're developing some other, I think, pretty spectacular ideas using the technology, but not just the technology, the platform, the social reach, everything that is Skype, and now hopefully that is Microsoft. But that idea came, it was a creative-driven idea. We had a notion to do something, and this is a scenario where a brand provides value through their product, and in this case, it was the technology and the other things I mentioned that enabled it. So it was a natural fit, it's an organic fit, and when things like that happen, when that perfect storm happens, you get great stuff. You get the ability to go to talent and involve them without them feeling like it's a commercial, right? You get the reach from the band, from Skype, from Kimmel, and you get millions of views. And that video there did millions of views. So that was just one scenario of how it comes up, but that was that.
Angie, is the juice worth the squeeze? Is the resource, does it deliver on an ROI that would justify what seems to be a lot of engagement between your organization and Jimmy's team as well?
I think it's important. I agree with Doug. Not all things are created equal who you work with. But for me and my team, it's important that we have a platform and a conviction for how it is that we want to do branded content with broadcast, or frankly, branded content with any channel. So when we approach our partners, I think we come with a pretty clear idea of what it is we want to do and what we won't do. And so with Doug and his team, part of it is to make sure it doesn't look like a product integration, that it is very authentic and that it's immersed into the show and that it's a piece of the value of what Jimmy does in the show anyways, which then is true to the Skype brand for how we actually market Skype. And that makes it a lot easier for me from an ROI point of view, because I never look at, it's rare that I'll look at broadcast as just one channel for ROI. I'll look at all of my channels and I'll come back to a story with my executive team on how my investments make sense across the entire strategy of what we're doing around a particular audience or a particular campaign. So One Direction for us was easy to actually justify, because we have a full program around youthful, millennials, and what we do with Skype around music and the youth and earned media and video that we do. And One Direction is one of the bands we work with all the time. So it was one piece of that ROI that was effective.
A little bit off script here, but has there ever been a point in time where the consumer feedback hasn't been 100% positive about a brand's incorporation into these types of?
Sometimes for Skype, we don't commercially pay for a lot of the things we get, and so it can be sometimes not where we would necessarily want to play it. Right. And we've gone down some avenues with Doug on a few things where we've backed out a bit, because I often feel if I can't show the video at work, then maybe I shouldn't do it. And so that's kind of my line. And so sometimes we for sure, but we have to push it. We push the envelope in order to drive. It's more important to me to care about what the consumer is going to love. And if we think they're going to love it for that particular audience and that content, and then it's worth the risk.
One thing just to add about that with the ROI is, sometimes, and I don't know if people like to hear this or not, but sometimes there's a glow effect too, right? And something that we like to say is, for a brand, you have to get your share of the culture in order to get your share of the market. And I think that that's what we provide or try to provide, and that's a perfect situation of what we just saw here is, that's putting Skype into the culture of those fans, those people, that band, and then hopefully it rubs off onto the share of market. So.
And we do have a very specific methodology to track our broadcast integrations against, if we were to do that against any other medium. And so we'll look at the placement, the time of the placement, the quality of the placement, the level of interaction with the placement, and we've got a whole equation that we use to determine then the cost that we think that would have equal to if we were to just buy media. And so for the most part, we're able to know that if an integration isn't 4 times what it would normally cost us to buy advertising, we won't even go down that path. So, in every single time, obviously, the reason we continue to invest with Jimmy Kimmel is it's way past 4 times sometimes of what that value would be if we were to just buy ad space during the same time amount.
And selfishly here, of course, what do you guys think is the key to selling through, and I would love to hear both of your perspectives, but the key to selling through these programs, which are distinct, these are unique opportunities, they're not commonplace. So I know you have to be a champion internally, I'm sure, and of course you need to get your team moving in a direction as well. What are the 3 pillars to successful sell-through around these more unique programs?
Which side do you want to hear from first?
Either one.
You can go first.
Okay. For us, it's interesting. When you talk about branded content, we have a very, and I think what has helped us be very successful, we have a very unique approach to it. And the approach throughout the company stems from Jimmy's old radio days, right? I call it the radio advertising equation, if you will. And what that equation is, it's very simple. It's, hey, look, you guys love our content and you like getting it for free, and there are some friends over here who sell products and they're helping you get it for free, and by the way, the product's pretty good, so why don't you buy their product and we'll all keep having this great relationship and you guys keep getting what you want and it's all a good thing. So, for us, selling it through from a standpoint of do we want to do it is not a hard thing. The second tier of that is the creative, right? Does the creative match up? And that's another thing that I think has kept us successful, right? Jimmy and the whole team creatively, we will not do anything that is not good for our show, We're not going to just put, junk on the air. It's got to resonate with our audience, and that's something that we're all very, very in tune to. So that's the second component of selling it through. And the reason I've been able to kind of ride both sides is, I come from a creative background and line producer background as well, so I understand both dynamics of creative versus, what the advertiser needs. So we're able to put that together. I don't know if I exactly answered your question, but I think that's how we sell it through. We see what the opportunity is. We see if it's a fit for us. We make sure that we can make great content and make the advertiser happy. We're not going to, the thing I can't stand the most is when an advertiser is unhappy after doing something. It just doesn't feel right. So, and then that's where we go from there. We just make sure it all fits, and then we do it. So.
Yeah, and from our end, because Skype doesn't actually do advertising, we're a little unique in that I don't actually look at our integrations with Jimmy Kimmel or most of the partners I pay for as advertising. I really do look at them as content plays for how we distribute Skype through to the audiences we care about. And I hear so much content's king, which is true, a part of it. I actually, though, think the user's king. I think the consumer is king. And what is it? So for us, we look at how do we reach that consumer in the most effective media with the right content at the right time through the right channels. And so if we can apply that relationship in that investment against those plans that we have, then it's completely sellable internally. But if I start with the user, then we can sit down with Doug and his team and say, okay, well, who are we attracting? What markets? How are we going to get that? What kind of content matters to them? We know a lot of the audience we want to get after is really interested in music. They're interested in humor. They love entertainment. They want to be collaborative. And I think, obviously, with Doug and his team, they push the envelope in collaborating with their online channels and with their viewers and with their fans. And so that's, for me, if I can have that match perfectly, then it's worth the investment. And usually it pays off.
Basically, what value are we bringing our viewer, our customer? What's the value proposition? Like, we just did a deal with Shazam, where we're the first late night show that you can Shazam the musical performances. And when Shazam came, it wasn't about the money. I said, they said, well, we're going to create a second screen experience for your user. And I looked at the experience, we looked at it and said, this isn't it's an okay experience, but it's not really doing what we needed to do. So what they came back with is they said, we're going to go to each band, we're going to get a free download of one of their tracks, and if people Shazam the performance, then they're going to get a free download. For us, now you're starting to get somewhere. You're giving our audience something that they want, and that's really what it's about for us.
Now, from where you sit, Doug, is there an appetite for marketers or from marketers to do more of this type of work, or is this a product strategy for you guys to stick out from your kind of network competition? What's the motivation for these more authentic experiences for brands?
Yeah, I think brands certainly, as many people here can attest, and there's a number of people in the room that we've done deals with. They all want to continue to do this work. When you can, touch your consumer in, again, to use the buzzwords, in an authentic way, but give them value and, again, become part of that culture, that's the win for everybody. You know what I mean? And, when we started this, 10 years ago out of necessity. It wasn't about standing out from our competitors. It was about, we were the new kid on the block. We had very little money to do what we wanted to do creatively, so we went to brands and partners to help us be able to do what we needed to do. And it started out by raising money, but one of the first things we did, then there's a gentleman here named Ty Braswell who was with Sony. One of the first things we did was we sponsored our outdoor music stage, which was about to go away because the network said you can't afford it. So we solved our problem. Sony helped us solve that problem, and the consumer won because they get these big festival-style concerts now. And again, that was Sony then, and ironically, Sony's back to the table almost 11 years later, and they're our music sponsor. So.
More to come from you guys? Do you feel like this is the right direction for the brand, Angie, or you think this is kind of a limited, one-off circumstance, deep integrations, and there's still blocking and tackling that occurs for the lion's share?
Oh, no, in fact, quite the opposite. Since I've joined Skype, we've invested twice as much looking at broadcast and looking at video and looking at that as a distribution channel for us. But because the content that we can create through broadcast then is just so reusable, then we can take that content, redistribute it in so many other mediums. And then for us also, for Skype, so many people think of it as just a one-to-one video message, but it's such a huge channel for actually creating content. So I'll just use X Games, for example. We'll work with a bunch of the X Game athletes. We'll be on, at the X Games. We'll set up studios. They can do interviews. They can do interviews and really fun fan, calls live from there. But then ESPN distributes the content for me. I don't distribute it. So I become a content creator for ESPN, and then I get the distribution without paying for the actual distribution. It's also a great way for us to work with celebrities and work with entertainers and athletes without ever sponsoring them. I don't have those kind of budgets. I don't come here with tier one. Skype, has always been all digital. Very, it's just, we just will grill it out and get it done. But for us to be able to have that kind of, presence with them through a meaningful, where we're making their fans happy, then it's a win-win for us and anybody we work with. So I just see us doing a lot more.
Great. Doug, a bit more focused here, want to talk about YouTube. Can you share with us how you became a channel partner and what sort of internal dynamics you faced? Was that an easy sell? Was that tough?
So you mean a channel partner on the Kimmel side,
Correct.
Not the Jash side?
That's right.
Okay.
We'll get into Jash in a moment here.
Yeah, great. Well, it was interesting. We got into the YouTube game at Kimmel way before, right at the beginning of the curve, right? So when, and it was something that I was really focused on because I knew that in order for us to grow our audience, in the early days, what we were doing was we were drafting off the ABC primetime audience, which I knew was a small speck of what really could be Kimmel fans, right? So we knew we had to take the content to them where they are, and we had to grow our fan base. And I don't know if the data can support it, but I will say to this day, it was because of YouTube that we were able to grow such a mega fan base because of the way Jimmy and the show embraced it, and we used that platform to get our content to the people where they are rather than them having to come to us at first. So when we tried to do it, I was very bullish on it. Kimmel was very bullish on it. We were already creating viral sensations, but they were in pirated videos. We didn't manage or own our own channel. We were, people were putting up our pirated videos, and they were going gangbusters. So we were lucky enough that it was right at the beginning of when ABC, they still had a walled garden approach where it was like, no, ABC.com, everything has to stay here, and we don't want to put it out on other platforms. Since then, that has changed a great deal. But the good news for us was we sort of snuck in under the radar. While they were signing their deal with YouTube to launch other channels, we raised our hand and I said, hey, listen, we'll take that over here if you want to let us run our own YouTube channel. And they were worried about Lost, and they were worried about, Dancing with the Stars and whatever else. And it was like, yeah, sure, go ahead, go run it. And, thank you, So that's how we ended up becoming a channel partner. And again, I don't know if it says it anywhere, but we're up to, we have over 3.5 million subscribers. We just did about we crossed the 1.3 billion view mark. We're doing anywhere from 14 to 20 million video views per week. And it's just a huge part of our strategy now.
Great.
Just spun off a music-only channel, Jimmy Kimmel Live Music, which is a YouTube channel, and that's only been up for a few months, and that's growing by leaps and bounds. So it's really a great part of our strategy.
Very good. Do you mind speaking a little bit about Jash?
I love speaking about Jash.
Where it came from, what the genesis was?
And actually, someone else needs a shout out in the room. That Jamie Byrne is here from Google YouTube, who was instrumental in doing our channel deal. So I thank him for that. He's the reason that we got to start Jash and do all the cool stuff we're doing. When YouTube was doing their partner content deals or paid channel deals, which was a great strategy for them. They primed the pump and they wanted to get, I think, real content creators onto the platform and wanted to help them kind of create content and then push it out. We linked up with them obviously through the Kimmel side of things, but we started talking about what the void was in the comedy marketplace. And for us, there was a lack of A-list talent creating the content that they wanted to create, kind of in a focused and high-level comedy kind of sensibility on YouTube. I mean, a lot of it was scattered and it was hit or miss. You go to a place, you can't find what you like or what your sensibility is. So, you know, our philosophy was, let's create a network, you know, a multi-channel network, if you will, but a much more focused one, and let's, through our relationships, which are very, very deep in comedy, in variety, and in late night talk, let's find our partners that we can bring in, and let's build from there. So we went out and we got Sarah Silverman, Michael Cera, Reggie Watts, Tim and Eric, who are all kind of considered comedy royalty in the comedy space. They attracted a ton of other talent that just wanted to come and create. They're artists. They want to create. They don't want to be, you know, tied down with notes and network issues and this and that. They want to do what they want to do. And if you give them that fertile ground, they usually create great things. So we created Jash, and that's our comedy network. And alongside of it, we saw an opportunity for all our friends that are doing great in the podcast space to create a video podcast network. So we took successful podcasts like our partner Adam Carolla, Scott Ackerman, and the Earwolf Network. We launched Norm Macdonald, you know, and we put all these into the video format and really created talk shows from these guys. And that's another kind of angle for our comedy network. But that's how Jash came about, and it was myself and the first executive producer of Jimmy Kimmel, a guy named Daniel Kellison. We partnered on that and took it forward. So
awesome, very funny for folks who haven't gotten exposed to it.
Yeah,
Pretty
thank you.
hysterical stuff. So one more question, and then we're going to try to get to a couple more examples of great work. Angie, is it possible to test and learn, and again, I'm going a little bit off script here, but is it possible to test and learn your way into this space, or does and by that I mean, can you wade into the water, or do you have to be all in? The way for this thing to really work for a brand is kind of to become disarmed and go to places where you're not as comfortable as perhaps you have been historically.
It's a great question. No, I actually think you need to, I don't think it requires that you have to be all in with a ton of money, but I think you do need to be all in and convicted with what it is you're trying to accomplish. So you can't go in and out. So let's say you decide you're going to go all in. Like for us, music is really important to our Skype audience, especially, you know, in the age range, well, any age range, but 18 to 30 is just a huge area, as it is for a lot of our brands. So I don't think you can just go into music and then step out. But you don't have to go in and decide that it's essential that you have the big tier one sponsorships so that you're going to spend millions of dollars on a deal either. I think it's about being really consistent with what that platform is and what it is you're going to offer. And then I think you'll reap benefits over time. But fundamentally, it's about making sure whatever you do, you're creating that content, whether it's small or big, that's shareable, and that it's enticing and it's engaging. So that way, then whatever user you're going after has a reason to keep coming back. And so that's where I think the content is so important, because it has to matter, to your user, and it has to be actionable. So if it's actionable, then you're going to continue to get them into your CRM system and then be able to follow through on them. So those are the philosophies that we follow. So I guess in some ways, yeah, you have to be all in, but I don't think you have to be all in with tons of money. I think you have to be all in with a really consistent strategy.
Great. Perfect. Hey guys, do you mind if we take a look? Do you have a preference over what we show? We probably can squeeze in one. The Kiss stuff, I think.
I'll show Kiss for sure, yeah.
Great. Do you guys mind? You want to cue up the Kiss segment? If you would.
Hi, we're Kiss. There's something you should know about us. We love kids.
Maybe that's because the last U.S. Census proved that 44% of all children conceived between 1972 and 1984 were conceived at a Kiss concert.
By Gene.
That's why we've joined the Helping Parents to Rock movement.
We're on patrol 24/7.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. We got a code red. Over there, over there.
Hang on to it now.
Never fear, Kiss is here.
Nice makeup.
I'm sorry your parents ruined your birthday, Flip, but Kiss is going to make it all better.
Yes.
Unbelievable. Thank you, guys.
But by the way, if I just quickly on that, the reason I picked that is that's an example. One of the things we've been successful. That's a sort of a Jash Kimmel collaboration. So Hyundai had something they wanted to do with their Santa Fe, which was the car you saw in it, and we were doing a road trip. We were going to Brooklyn, and we needed a sponsor to sponsor music. So they came to us and they said, "We have this idea. We'd like to create this video series with A-list music talent, and we want to, try to do it with you guys leading up to Brooklyn." So we let creative drive this. Jash was the producing entity. Our branded content unit at Jash was the producing entity. We did Alicia Keys, Travis Barker, Alanis Morissette, Tenacious D, and Kiss, and created a video web series. But what we did was we used the Kimmel platform to premiere them and launch them. So it launched on Kimmel, and then it went over to the Jash sites, and and then again you get the perfect storm. For us, it's about the trifecta of earned, paid media, and then also we want to kind of use the social to kind of get it going. So what we did is we used the Kimmel social, we used the Hyundai social, we used the band social, and we kind of had the perfect storm of these videos. So they kind of worked together like that.
Perfect. Just one, I know we're going over time, but I'm way off the rails anyway. But one last question quickly. Is there something coming down that you're particularly excited about? What's a new, and maybe that's not even an answerable question, but what's the craziest thing that you guys are thinking about in terms of integrating a brand into the content?
I'm
sure there's
that. I don't even know if we have time for that.
If it's not answerable, you just tell me.
I don't think it is. There's so many things in the works. Next year we have huge initiatives planned with Kimmel, which I think brands will be associated with all of them. The things that we're going to do on the Jash front, I think you're going to see us making deals with a lot of digital platforms and pushing content out through various digital partners, including Skype. They just outfitted our whole studio with Skype technology, which we're very grateful for. And it's just, and on the content side with Kimmel, you're just going to see it continue to grow and get better and better. And we have a very focused digital strategy on Kimmel. We're really ramping it up, 360. So now when a brand comes to us, when content goes through our machine, it's going to touch all platforms. So it's very, that's the best way I could answer it without spending an hour. So.
Yeah, I know it's probably the same for me, but I have two that we're really excited about. Well, obviously three, Doug, but we just launched Victoria Beckham, so she's fantastic. But this is all again around getting content and getting the right kind of content in the right place. And for our users, when we look at our passions between music, it's music and fashion and food and sports. And so for fashions, we're really aligning ourselves with key partners around each of these passion points, and then where can we take that content to lead us into other opportunities. So we launched Victoria Beckham, so we've got amazing content that we're creating behind the scenes. I'm finding that more of my budget goes to creating content than it used to, and then less to distribute it. But if it's the right content, then you can use your owned and earned channels to really get that out there more cost effectively. And then we also just launched a great integration deal with Marvel. And this is around, again, using content, getting behind the scenes content, using video messaging for questions to come in and get users engaged, custom, emoticons and things that you can distribute within the client of what you're working on. So it's this idea of taking, product and taking digital experiences, and really our users don't know the difference anymore, whether, it's a product or if it's an actual marketing program. So when we can combine that, and our users don't know, I feel like I've been successful. And so you'll see that with both Victoria and Marvel this coming year.
And we'll hop in and amplify that, both with Kimmel and Jash.
That's right.
We'll work with her, hopefully, on the Victoria Beckham stuff, definitely on the Marvel stuff, being a Disney-owned property, as well as Kimmel. So,
and that's where the integration comes in.
Yeah, and we like to be a good broadcast amplifier of a partner's
I'm trying to picture that scavenger hunt with Victoria. That could be really interesting.
Well, we're trying to do it with her and David. We want to get them both in one of their houses, right, and go like that. So.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much for your time. Please, guys.
Thank you.
Doug and Angie, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, everyone.